Hey guys, I have been saying for quite some time that the creative space over on X is actually a lot of fun, Twitter, X. And I've been having a pretty good time interacting with writers and artists and RPG creative folks over there for quite some time. And even if you never want to post a note, it's worth checking out just to see some really cool stuff that goes on over there nowadays. But I'm not here to sing the praises of the microblogging site. Rather, I want to talk about something really cool and interesting that I discovered over there, or rather, I should say, someone really cool and interesting, and one of her works. Now, of course, if you saw the video title, you know that this is a review of a book by ALYSSA HAZEL. And I am not a person who readily goes out and buys new books by authors about whom I know little to nothing. So maybe I had a bit of an advantage just kind of BS posting back and forth with her over on Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it. But when she kind of teased a few snippets of her book over there, or her works, I should say, I was intrigued. Now I've got a full Appendix N library, if you will, and science fiction and works of nonfiction and everything else I can grab, during those rare times when I'm not live streaming or creating content or playing D&D or any of the other myriad of things I have to do. So it was kind of a new experience for me, just stepping out and picking up a book, even though I suspected it might be pretty good. So without further ado, let's dive right in and let's talk a little bit about Twitching Light and what I thought of it. First of all, I guess the first thing you should know is that despite this being the first in a trilogy, it is an anthology collection. It is short stories and poetry. And I'll come back to the poetry in a minute. Right now, I just want to focus on the short stories that ALYSSA has written. They kind of run the gamut from sort of modern urban fantasy all the way into dark pulp horror and just straight up horror. Now, as with an anthology, as you might guess, these are short pieces and they're all very tantalizing. None overstay their welcome, and they kind of show a sort of they open a window into her writing style and her thought processes and so on. And for me, that's a very good thing. I like to be able to judge an author without having to dive in, without having to plow through 300, 400 pages, an entire trilogy, what have you, to be able to kind of piecemeal sample things and yet still get complete stories. I mean, maybe it's a symptom of our age today with everyone having a shorter attention span, but I found this to be kind of the perfect I guess smorgasbord of various works by her to sample and to try out. Her writing style tends a little bit towards the darker, well, as you might guess, focusing largely on horror stuff. But what I like in the overall is that she keeps it tight. Nothing overstays its welcome. Everything is economical for the form that she's working in. And it's not all horror, which is really nice. There are some breaks. Like I said, there is some modern urban fantasy mixed in. There's the first-person present tense story told by a fellow who, after a divorce, makes friends with an ancient dragon in the hills near where he lives. There's a magical coffee shop. There's a vampire cult in Las Vegas. So if you're a fan of the original Kolchak the Night Stalker movie, maybe that might hit the old nostalgia release for you. But in the overall, all the stories are very well put together, regardless of what genre she's working in at a given time. I have some favorites in the book, and it was like, they're all good, but which ones of these resonated the most with me? Which ones do I think really hit it out of the park? And so I'm going to, there's no specific order to this. I went back through, I read the book a second time. I said, okay, which ones are my favorites? And it would be these 6. And I didn't pick the number 6 for any specific reason. I just said these are the ones that work the best for me. Modo Draco Est is the aforementioned story about the businessman who makes friends with the dragon. The Man with the Stick is a absolutely chilling horror story. I don't want to give too much away about that, but it is generational horror. My apologies to Alyssa for mangling this title. Hersheimers, if I'm saying that right, is a rather chilling tale about the consequence of pain management and self-improvement. It's a gambler's city. If you caught my comment earlier there about vampires in Las Vegas, it's a gambler's city. It's definitely worth your time. Men at Work is a positively Lovecraftian horror set in a modern urban setting. I do recommend Men at Work. It doesn't have a happy ending. I'm going to warn you about that. And Doorknobs is a good old fashioned ghost story with just some frightening descriptions of sensations in the story, and I really quite like it. So those are my favorites out of it. But in the overall, the short stories are really, really good, and I personally think it's worth picking up if you want a taste of what Alyssa is doing. And hey, do I want to read more of her stuff? This is the ideal format to try that out. Now, I mentioned earlier that there are short poems in the book. Usually, they seem to fall exactly between the longer form short stories. I am a bad judge of poetry. I know what I like. It's usually iambic pentameter. That's not to say that what she did is bad. I'm just not a good judge of poetry. If you like free form poetry styles, then I think what she does in the book will probably be right up your alley, and I think you'll enjoy it because the poems, like the stories, deal with darker subject matters, which is a good thing in my opinion. So what do I think in the overall? Well, I think it is an exceptionally well-written collection of stories. There weren't any of them that I was just like, okay, and flipping through. It was, unfortunately, even with something like Night Shift by Stephen King, there are 1 or 2 stories in there that when I go back and reread Night Shift, I just skip over. And I can honestly say I didn't with Twitching Light. When I went back and I did my read through, I didn't just focus on those 6 favorites. I read it all again and I enjoyed it all again. Again, with the poetry, I'm not the best judge. So I can't really say it's really good or it's really bad. That will be something for you, the readers, to decide on. It is not so obtrusive that you feel like, well, I paid for a book, an anthology of short stories, and it's heavily padded with poetry. If you're not a poetry person, you're not going to find it obtrusive. If you are, you're going to find it to be a great seasoning for the rest of the book. So that's really about the best I can say for the poetry, given my poor, admittedly poor judgment on poetic matters. So I guess in the overall, if you were to ask me, hey, should I buy and read Twitching Light? If you want a sample of what Alyssa is doing, absolutely. If you like horror, if you like urban fantasy, if you like short form, darker subject matter poetry, yes, absolutely. This is really, really worth your time. I'm gonna say on a, to give it a rating, because everybody likes ratings, I will give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Only because there's a couple of stories that I wish were a little bit longer. I want to read more about this. I want to know more about this. So that's not a negative. That's a positive, because that's room to grow. So that's what I think of Twitching Light by Alyssa HAZEL. I definitely think you should check it out. I will link to the place where you can purchase it on Amazon. So you should check that out. I'll be back, of course, later with more video fun. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day. Peace.